September the 28th, 2021. Guys, you're looking at the CME Tracker, and we've had two solar explosions today, and they're headed for our planet. The yellow dot in the center is the sun. The green dot in the very center to the right is Earth, and then you have stereo A and B satellites in the red and blue. Notice in the very top chart on the right, the Earth is going to hit a virtual wall of plasma, and it's pretty strong there. You're looking up close to 50 as far as centimeters cubed, and usually you're down below 15, sometimes 5, 4, but that's a pretty steep wall, and that's going to happen UTC time on just before midnight on October the 1st, just a few days away. But these two CMEs left the sun today, and notice your timestamp as we look at this. It's starting. The Earth is just about starting to encounter this on September the 30th at 1800 hours. But the impact from the plasma density, as I move this a little further to the right there in the top, occurs about 2100 hours on the 30th. Now that would be 9 p.m. UTC time, but 3 p.m. Eastern. And now that's going to be 12 noon on the West Coast. You understand what I'm saying? What does that mean? That means that the U.S. will be directly Earth-facing when this event happens. Now, some of the CME predictions from these different models have had small impacts. Some have had large impacts. And this one looks like it may be a large impact again. 2 CMEs left the sun today. Now looking at LASCO C2, which is another satellite that gives us Earth-facing images of the sun. Right there on the 28th, notice your timestamp on the bottom, it's coming up. You're going to see a full halo right there off the right side of the sun. And it is definitely Earth-facing. This is what it looked like on a different satellite called the Solar Dynamics Observatory, which gives us visual images through 12 different cameras and different filters on each one. But notice there's going to be a ripple in that bottom right corner, and what's happening is you're going to see what they call a hider flare. Watch the bottom right there. The ejection left the surface. Some of it was pulled back down, resulting in a secondary explosion as it hit the surface. That's called the hider flare. It's coming from that sunspot that's in the bottom right-hand corner. We have a few there. None of them have been this strong, but this one's been trouble kind of when it first started coming around. Here you can actually see the shadow of the CME as it leaves the surface of the sun. Watch as it covers the sun right after the flash. You'll see it coming up. Right there, just darkened across there as it's leaving. It was basically a shadow from the satellite itself. Now, this is how we know pretty much where it's going. This is a different satellite. It was one of the ones that was on the CME Tracker, and it's called Stereo Ahead. It's behind Earth in the same orbit, so it has a different view of the sun. And this explosion came out the right side according to Stereo A, which is Earth-facing to the right of this. So, again, coming up, we're going to have a daytime event if this event happens at that time. Remember, usually there's a plus or minus 7 hours on the window because they're not exactly sure of the solar wind speed or the barrel velocity, as some call it. But it's definitely, we got a couple headed this way. One is kind of to the side, but the large one will be an impact. So remember the 30th, what we're going to be dealing with, 12 noon West Coast is the predicted time, and 3 o'clock on the East Coast. But we're 5 hours, on the East Coast, we're 5 hours behind UTC, which a lot of these measurements are coming from. So we will, if it happens within that period of time, we will more than likely see the effects on our tectonic plates and quakes. And this energy, guys, during weakened shields, like even though we're in a slow climb back into solar cycle 25, we still haven't reached anywhere near its peak strength yet. So the shields are still weak, and will it intensify the volcanoes? Very well could. But we're watching it, and we're going to update this over the next 2 days as we watch it come in, and it will cross the Discover satellite and a couple of other ones, and it will give us a 45-minute to an hour a heads up because the satellites are between us and the sun. But what will happen is Discover will see a jump in the solar wind speed as this approaches. But we're watching it, guys. You watch it. Again, the Atlantic looks fairly quiet as far as impacts into the U.S., and we'll look and see if we can get any updates on La Palma. It's a heads up. Be safe.